Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
Welcome, and thank you. Your presence makes these stories worth sharing. We'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Echoes from the Grave. The doorbell rang at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night. Dominic Russo finished his glass of bourbon, annoyed at the late-night intrusion. His spacious Portland home was his sanctuary, a place where he maintained perfect control since the tragedy. 5 years of building walls around himself. 5 years of redefining his existence. He opened the door to find a uniformed police officer, cap in hand, bearing the solemn expression Dominic had seen once before on the worst night of his life. "Mr. Russo? I'm Officer Patrick Sullivan." Dominic nodded, a strange dread building inside him. "Your wife and son have been taken to the ER after a serious car accident," the officer said at my door. Dominic froze. "But they died 5 years ago," he replied. The officer looked just as confused. "What did you say?" he asked. Dominic's mind raced through impossible scenarios. A mistake. A cruel prank. A case of mistaken identity. "There must be some mistake," Dominic said, his voice flat with disbelief. "My wife Elena and my son Noah died in a boating accident at Lake Champlain. I identified their bodies myself." Officer Sullivan consulted his notepad. "Sir, the woman's ID says Elena Russo. The boy calls himself Noah Russo. They were in a silver Honda Accord that was T-boned at 4th and Lincoln. She asked specifically for you." Dominic's pulse thundered in his ears. The bourbon glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. Without bothering to clean it up, he grabbed his keys. "Portland General?" he asked, already moving toward his Audi. "Yes, sir." Dominic drove like a man possessed, his thoughts fragmenting and reforming like shards of glass. The funeral, the closed caskets, the insurance payout, the grief counseling, the months of emptiness. When he arrived at the emergency room, he approached the front desk with a strange calm that belied the storm within. "I'm here about Elena and Noah Russo," he said. The nurse directed him to trauma room 3. With each step down the sterile hallway, Dominic felt as though he were walking through a dream. He pushed open the door, and when he saw what was inside that room, he lost all words and his body trembled with rage. Elena lay on the hospital bed, her face bruised but unmistakably hers. Beside her, a teenage Noah, taller and older than the 10-year-old boy Dominic had buried, sat holding her hand. Next to him stood a man Dominic had never seen before, his arm protectively around Noah's shoulders. "Dom," Elena whispered, her voice hoarse. "I can explain." The unknown man stepped forward. "Mr. Russo, I'm Richard Palmer. I think we should talk outside." Dominic didn't move, his eyes fixed on his supposedly dead wife and son. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees as the initial shock gave way to something far more dangerous. "Noah," he said quietly, "step outside." "His name is Travis now," Richard blurted out. "Travis Palmer." Dominic's gaze shifted to the stranger, cataloging every detail of the man's face. Richard Palmer, early 40s, athletic build, the kind of man who had never faced true violence. Dominic would remember that face. "Dad," Noah/Travis said uncertainly, looking to Richard. "It's okay," Richard assured him. "Go wait in the hall." When the boy left, Dominic spoke with a controlled precision that made both Elena and Richard flinch. "You have exactly 60 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't call the police right now." "You can't," Elena said quickly. "Dom, please. We had no choice." 50 seconds. Richard stepped forward. "Look, Mr. Russo, I understand you're upset." 40 seconds. Elena struggled to sit up. "You were changing, Dom. After what happened with Wexler Construction, you became someone I didn't recognize. The threats, the guns in the house. That night you came home covered in blood." "That wasn't his blood," Dominic said coldly. "Thorpe tried to attack me. I defended myself. You put 3 men in the hospital." Elena cried. "The police were investigating you. Noah was having nightmares. We were afraid of you." Dominic's face remained impassive, but his eyes burned with recognition. So you fake your deaths. How? Richard looked uncomfortable. I work for WITSEC. Witness protection. Not officially, of course. This was off the books. The boating accident, Dominic said, piecing it together. The bodies they found were already deceased, Richard admitted. Jane and John does from the morgue. Dental records were switched. I had connections. You let me bury strangers thinking they were my family, Dominic said, his voice devoid of emotion. We had to make it convincing, Elena pleaded. You'd never have stopped looking otherwise. And now? Dominic asked. Why show up now? The car accident wasn't planned, Richard explained. When they brought Elena in, she was unconscious. Travis, Noah, gave the doctors his real name in a panic. The hospital found your contact information as next of kin. Dominic nodded once, processing all of this with disturbing calmness. Dom, Elena said, reaching for his hand. I know this is a shock, but maybe this is a second chance. We could. Dominic stepped back from her touch. Does he make you happy? He asked, gesturing toward Richard. Elena hesitated, then nodded. Good, Dominic said, because from this moment forward, you're both truly dead to me. He turned and walked out, passing Noah in the hallway without a glance. The boy called after him, but Dominic didn't stop or turn around. In his car, Dominic sat perfectly still, hands resting on the steering wheel. He felt a strange clarity washing over him. For 5 years, he'd channeled his grief into building his security consulting business, Defense Protocol, becoming one of the most respected and feared names in the industry. 5 years of mourning ghosts who were living comfortably with new identities. 5 years of nightmares and therapy and blame. Dominic started the engine his decision made. They would all pay for this betrayal. Not quickly, not obviously, but thoroughly. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. It's Russo, he said when the line connected. I need your services. It's about a resurrection. Chapter 2, The Buried Truth. Dominic's private office at Defense Protocol occupied the entire top floor of a nondescript building in downtown Portland. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, though the glass was specially treated to prevent outside surveillance. This had been his domain for 3 years, built from the ashes of his previous life. Lydia Hayes, his executive assistant, looked up from her desk as he entered. The Yoshida contract is on your desk for final approval. And Dr. Mercer called again about your missed appointment. Dominic ignored both items. Clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks. Family emergency. Lydia raised an eyebrow, but knew better than to pry. In the 4 years she'd worked for Dominic, he'd never once mentioned family. Already done, came a voice from Dominic's office doorway. Felix Novak leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. At 6'4" with a shaved head and a network of scars across his knuckles, Felix had been Dominic's right hand since they'd served together in Army Special Forces. There was nothing Felix wouldn't do for Dominic, and they both knew it. The hospital records are scrubbed. Felix continued once they were alone in Dominic's office. As far as the system shows, Elena and Noah Russo were never admitted. I called in a favor with Simmons at Portland PD. The accident report lists Jane Palmer and Travis Palmer as the victims. Dominic nodded. Richard Palmer. Tell me. Felix opened his laptop. Richard Andrew Palmer, 44. Former U.S. Marshal assigned to WITSEC until 7 years ago when he went private. Now he provides consulting services to wealthy clients who want to disappear. No criminal record, but several professional complaints. Lives with Elena, now Jane Palmer, and the boy in Seattle. They own a 4-bedroom on Mercer Island. He runs a security firm called Sanctuary Solutions. An appropriate name, Dominic said dryly. There's more, Felix said. The business is struggling. Palmer's made some bad investments. They've mortgaged the house twice. For what I can tell, they're about 3 months from bankruptcy. Dominic's eyes narrowed. So the car accident wasn't just bad luck. They're in Portland for a reason. My guess, they need money. Dominic laughed, a sound without humor. After 5 years, they thought they could just come back and what? Ask for a loan? Felix hesitated. There's something else you should know. Your will was never changed after their deaths. Legally, Elena is still your wife. Noah is still your son and heir. Dominic leaned back in his chair, understanding dawning. If something happened to me, they'd get everything. Exactly, Felix confirmed. Defense protocol is valued at $89 million. Your personal assets add another $40 million. And Palmer is desperate, Dominic concluded. Desperate enough to orchestrate a reconciliation, or desperate enough for something more permanent? Felix didn't answer directly. How do you want to handle this? Dominic stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city he'd conquered through sheer force of will after losing everything. We play their game, he said finally. I'll reach out, express shock but openness to reconnection. Meanwhile, I want everything on them. Bank records, phone calls, emails. Every person they've spoken to in the last year. I want to know if Palmer has killed before. And the boy? Felix asked cautiously. Dominic's expression hardened. Noah made his choice. He calls another man dad. He's no longer my concern. Later that evening, Dominic sat in his home office, reviewing the files Felix had already compiled. A knock at the door interrupted his concentration. Come in. Stella Bennett entered, carrying a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. With her platinum blonde hair and ice blue eyes, Stella looked more like a Hollywood starlet than the former CIA operative she was. Felix called me, she said, pouring them each a drink. Said you needed a psychopath. Dominic accepted the glass. I need someone who understands betrayal. Stella had been Felix's recommendation for the delicate parts of his plan. Her CIA career had ended after she discovered her handler was a double agent, a discovery she'd made after eliminating 3 innocent assets on his orders. The agency had disavowed her, but Felix had saved her life during the extraction, creating a debt she could never fully repay. Tell me what happened, she said. Dominic recounted the hospital scene, his voice clinical and detached. 5 years, Stella mused when he finished. That's a long time to maintain a lie of that magnitude. Your son would have been 10 when they disappeared, Dominic supplied. 15 now. Old enough to understand what they did, Stella noted. Old enough to be complicit. Dominic's phone chimed with a text message from Felix. Palmer made contact with Elena's brother Anthony this morning. Meeting scheduled for tomorrow, 2 p.m. Anthony Winters. Another betrayal waiting to be uncovered. Had Elena's brother known she was alive all these years? Had he mourned with Dominic, knowing it was all a lie? I want you to follow Anthony Winters, Dominic told Stella, showing her the text. I need to know if he was part of this. Stella nodded. And what then? Then we start taking away everything Palmer values, Dominic said. His reputation, his business, his freedom, and finally his family. The same family that was once yours, Stella pointed out. Dominic's eyes were cold as winter. That family died in Lake Champlain 5 years ago. These people are imposters wearing their faces. And they'll pay for every tear I shed, every nightmare I endured, and every moment of grief they caused. Stella studied him for a long moment. You know, there's no coming back from this path. I'm not looking for redemption, Dominic replied. Just retribution. Chapter 3. Masks and Mirrors. Anthony Winters sat across from Dominic in an upscale Portland restaurant, nervously adjusting his tie. At 42, Anthony had the soft physique of a man who spent more time counting other people's money than working out. As Elena's older brother and a financial advisor, he had helped Dominic invest the insurance payout after the accident. I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice, Dominic said, signaling the waiter for more wine. Of course, Anthony replied, his eyes darting around the restaurant. Though I'm not sure what's so urgent after all this time. Dominic leaned forward slightly. I saw a ghost yesterday, Anthony. A ghost with your sister's face. The color drained from Anthony's features. His hand trembled as he reached for his water glass. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. That's disappointing, Dominic said mildly. I thought you'd be a better liar, considering you've had 5 years to practice. Anthony's shoulders slumped. Dom, you have to understand. Did you know from the beginning? Dominic interrupted. Or did she contact you afterward? Anthony hesitated, then sighed in defeat. 6 months after. She called in the middle of the night, made me swear not to tell you. Said you'd become dangerous, that you'd hurt people. And you believed her. She was terrified, Dom. What was I supposed to think? Dominic tapped his fingers on the table, contemplating. You managed my grief quite effectively, suggested the therapist. Helped me invest the life insurance money, all while knowing she was alive. I was trying to help you move on, Anthony protested. While helping them hide, Dominic countered. How much of that insurance money found its way to Seattle? Anthony's silence was answer enough. Dominic nodded to someone behind Anthony. Stella appeared, sliding into the seat beside him with a friendly smile that didn't reach her eyes. Anthony Winters, Dominic said, meet Stella Bennett. Stella has spent the morning going through your office computer and home files. She's found some interesting transfers to offshore accounts. Anthony's face went from pale to ashen. You had no right. You helped steal my life. Dominic cut him off. You facilitated fraud that cost me 5 years with my son. Rights don't enter into this conversation. What do you want? Anthony whispered. Dominic slid a folder across the table. Inside is a script. You will call Richard Palmer and say exactly what's written here. You will then arrange a meeting with Elena, alone, at the location specified. If you deviate from the script in any way, Ms. Bennett will ensure that certain financial irregularities in your practice come to the attention of the SEC. Anthony opened the folder with shaking hands. This is insane. You can't expect me to. I expect you to make amends for 5 years of lies, Dominic said. Consider this your only opportunity. After Anthony left, Stella raised an eyebrow at Dominic. He'll warn her. I'm counting on it, Dominic replied. Fear makes people predictable. Across town, Felix waited outside Westwood Academy, an exclusive private school where, according to his intelligence, Noah, now Travis, had been enrolled for the duration of their Portland visit. The boy emerged from the building, taller than Dominic had described, with the same dark hair but a stranger's mannerisms. Felix approached casually. Travis Palmer? The boy looked up warily. Who are you? An old friend of your father's, Felix said, deliberately ambiguous. I thought you might want to know some truths about your family. Which father? Travis asked with unexpected directness. The one who raised me or the one who's hunting us? Felix's eyebrows rose. So you know, I'm 15, not stupid, Travis replied. Mom and Dad think I don't hear them fighting, but the walls are thin. I know Dominic Russo is my biological father. I know we faked our deaths. What I don't know is why everyone's suddenly panicking. Felix studied the boy with newfound interest. Want to find out? Meanwhile, Dominic stood in his home gym, systematically demolishing a punching bag with precise, devastating blows. Each strike released a fraction of a rage he kept carefully contained. The phone rang. Dominic stepped back from the bag, checking the caller ID before answering. Dr. Mercer, he acknowledged. I'm afraid I'll need to reschedule again. This is the third cancellation, Mr. Russo, his therapist said. May I ask what's going on? Dominic toweled off, considering how much to reveal. Dr. Helen Mercer had been his therapist since the accident, one of the few people who had seen him at his most vulnerable. The dead have returned, Doctor, he said finally. My wife and son are alive. A long pause. I see, Dr. Mercer said carefully. This must be overwhelming. Perhaps we should meet immediately to discuss. That won't be necessary, Dominic cut in. I'm handling it. Dominic, Dr. Mercer said, her voice taking on an edge of concern. Whatever you're planning, remember that your son is still a child. He's not responsible for adult decisions. My son died 5 years ago, Dominic replied flatly. The person wearing his face is a stranger who calls another man father. Don't do something you can't take back, Dr. Mercer warned. Revenge won't heal what's broken. I'm not interested in healing, Doctor, Dominic said before hanging up. I'm interested in justice. As night fell, Dominic sat in his study reviewing the final elements of his plan. Felix entered without knocking, a troubled expression on his face. We have a problem, he announced. The kid wants to meet you. Alone. Dominic looked up sharply. What do you mean? I approached him outside his school, Felix explained. He knows more than we thought, and he's got questions specifically for you. Absolutely not, Dominic said immediately. He's part of their deception. He was 10 when they ran, Felix reminded him, and now he's caught between two fathers, trying to figure out the truth. The truth, Dominic scoffed. The truth is they left me to suffer while they built a new life. Felix hesitated. There's something else. The kid says Palmer has been acting strange lately. Paranoid, making phone calls at night. He thinks Palmer is planning something. Dominic considered this information. Set up the meeting, he decided. But on my terms. If the boy wants answers, he'll get them. All of them. Later that night, Dominic received a text from an unknown number. I know what Palmer did to make Mom run. Meet me tomorrow at Laurel Hiss Park. 4 p.m. Come alone. Noah. Dominic stared at the screen. The name, Noah, sending an unexpected pang through his chest. He typed back, I'll be there. As he placed the phone down, Dominic caught his reflection in the window. The man staring back at him was a stranger. Harder, colder, more dangerous than the person he'd been 5 years ago. They had created this version of him with their betrayal. Now they would face the consequences. Chapter 4. Blood Ties. Laurel Hiss Park was busy with afternoon joggers and dog walkers when Dominic arrived, 15 minutes early. He selected a bench with clear sight lines in all directions, noting every entrance and exit path. Felix was positioned on the opposite side of the park, watching through binoculars. Stella had eyes on the Palmer residence, ensuring this wasn't an elaborate trap. At exactly 4 p.m., Noah approached the bench. He wore jeans and a hoodie, hands thrust deep in his pockets, the defensive posture of adolescence. Dominic's chest tightened at how much the boy resembled him. The same set of the jaw, the same intense eyes. You came, Noah said, remaining standing. You used your real name, Dominic replied. Hard to ignore. Noah sat down, leaving space between them. Is it still my real name? Mom says it's not safe to use anymore. That's a question for your mother, Dominic said. Why did you want to meet? Noah stared at the ground. I need to know who you really are. Mom and Richard say you're dangerous, that you hurt people. I've hurt people who threaten me or those under my protection, Dominic acknowledged. I won't apologize for that. Did you hurt Mom? Never, Dominic said firmly. I never laid a hand on her in anger. Whatever she told you. She says you changed after someone named Thorpe attacked you. Noah interrupted. That you became obsessed with security. Paranoid. That you started keeping guns all over the house. Dominic's expression darkened. Did she tell you why Thorpe attacked me? Did she mention he was sent by Wexler Construction after I exposed their use of substandard materials in a hospital project? Materials that would have collapsed during an earthquake, killing hundreds. Noah looked up, confusion evident. No. Did she tell you that Thorpe had a knife? That he told me Wexler had ordered him to make an example of me? That after I defended myself, I received threats against both of you? The boy shook his head. The guns were for protection, Dominic continued. The security measures were because I had powerful enemies. Everything I did was to keep you both safe. Noah absorbed this, clearly conflicted. But Richard says, Palmer has been lying to you for 5 years. Dominic cut in. Tell me, if I was so dangerous, why would he bring you back to Portland now? Why risk contact? He said it was time to reconnect, Noah replied hesitantly. That holding on to the past was unhealthy. Dominic laughed coldly. Palmer's company is failing. He's deeply in debt. Did you know that? You're lying, Noah said, but uncertainty clouded his eyes. Am I? Dominic pulled out his phone, showing the boy financial records Felix had obtained. Sanctuary Solutions is 3 months from bankruptcy. Your house on Mercer Island has 2 mortgages. Meanwhile, I'm worth over $100 million, with your mother still legally my wife. No one pale. You think Richard brought us back for your money? I think Palmer saw an opportunity when his business failed, Dominic corrected. What better contingency plan than a wealthy man who still legally has a family he thought was dead? That's insane, Noah protested. Richard loves us. Perhaps, Dominic conceded. But ask yourself this. If he truly believed I was dangerous, why expose you to that danger now, after 5 safe years? Why not divorce me legally while maintaining your new identities? Noah had no answer, his teenage certainty crumbling under the weight of adult complexity. There's something else, Dominic added. Something you should know about the night before your deaths. What? Your mother was having an affair with Palmer, Dominic said bluntly. I found hotel receipts, text messages. When I confronted her, she denied everything. The next day, you were both dead. Noah stood abruptly. You're trying to turn me against them. I'm giving you facts, Dominic countered. What you do with them is your choice. But ask yourself who really betrayed whom. As Noah turned to leave, Dominic added, the night you died, I was reading Harry Potter to you. You fell asleep before I finished the chapter. I promised I'd continue the next night. That promise haunted me for 5 years. Noah hesitated, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. The Prisoner of Azkaban, he said quietly. Chapter 7. Their eyes met, a moment of genuine connection bridging the chasm of years and lies. My number is in your phone, Dominic said. If you want the rest of the truth, call me. After Noah left, Felix joined Dominic on the bench. The kid seems confused. He's been lied to his entire life, Dominic replied. By the time I'm finished, he'll know exactly who to trust. That evening, Richard Palmer paced their rented condo, furious. You let him go alone? After everything I've told you about Russo? Elena watched him with growing unease. Noah insisted, and Dom would never hurt him. You don't know what Russo is capable of. Richard exploded. He's not the man you married anymore. These past 5 years have hardened him. Defense Protocol isn't just a security company. They're mercenaries, Elena. They operate in war zones, doing things that never make the news. If he's so dangerous, why did you insist on coming back to Portland? She challenged. Why risk exposure? Richard's expression shifted, becoming guarded. You know why. It's time Noah knew his real father. After spending 5 years convincing him Dominic was a monster, Elena shook her head. Something doesn't add up, Richard. Before he could respond, Noah burst in. Were you sleeping with Richard while you were still married to my father? The room went silent. Richard and Elena exchanged guilty glances that told Noah everything he needed to know. Noah, it wasn't like that, Elena began. Stop lying to me. Noah shouted. My entire life is built on lies. Dominic showed me proof of everything. The bankruptcy, the mortgages, the timing of our deaths. Richard stepped forward, hand outstretched. Son, I'm not your son, Noah spat. And I'm starting to wonder if you ever saw me as anything more than a way to control my mother. That's enough. Richard grabbed Noah's arm. Russo is manipulating you. He's a dangerous man who... Who what? Noah demanded, pulling away. Who exposed dangerous building practices? Who is threatened and attacked for doing the right thing? Or are you going to lie about that too? As the argument escalated, Noah stormed to his room, slamming the door. Through the wall, he heard Richard's voice rising, Elena's pleading responses, and then a sound he'd never heard before, the sharp crack of a slap. Horrified, Noah crept to his door, opening it a crack to see his mother holding her reddened cheek, tears streaming down her face, while Richard loomed over her. Look what you've done, Richard hissed. 5 years of planning, ruined because you couldn't control the boy. Don't touch her again, Noah said, stepping into the room. Richard turned, his expression instantly transforming into contrition. Noah, I'm sorry you saw that. I lost my temper, but save it. Noah cut him off. I'm calling Dominic. No. Richard lunged forward, grabbing Noah's phone and smashing it against the wall. You don't understand what's at stake here. Richard, please, Elena begged. You're scaring me. Richard took a deep breath, visibly struggling for control. I apologize. This situation is complicated. Let's all calm down and discuss this rationally. But Noah had seen the mask slip, revealing something ugly beneath Richard's protective facade. He looked at his mother, seeing the fear in her eyes, and wondered if they'd escaped one perceived danger only to embrace a real one. I'm going for a walk, Noah announced, heading for the door. It's dark out, Richard objected. Better out there than in here, Noah replied coldly. Once outside, Noah walked several blocks before slipping into a convenience store. He bought a cheap prepaid phone with cash he'd been saving, then called the number Dominic had entered in his now-destroyed phone. It's Noah, he said when Dominic answered. I need to talk to you again, and I think Mom might be in trouble. Chapter 5. Hidden Agendas. At a nondescript motel on the outskirts of Portland, Dominic waited for Noah to finish his story. The boy sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders hunched, looking younger than his 15 years. He hit her, Noah concluded. Then he smashed my phone when I tried to call you. I've never seen him like that before. Dominic's jaw tightened. Whatever his feelings toward Elena, the thought of Palmer striking her ignited a dangerous fury. Has he done this before? Dominic asked carefully. Noah shook his head. Not that I've seen. But he hesitated. There have been times when Mom had bruises she couldn't explain. She'd say she bumped into something, but now I wonder. Felix, who had been standing silently by the window, shared a meaningful look with Dominic. Noah, Dominic said gently, I need to ask you something important. Why do you think Palmer brought you both back to Portland now, after 5 years? He said it was time to resolve the past, Noah replied. That keeping secrets was unhealthy. And when did this change of heart occur? Noah thought for a moment. About 2 months ago, after he lost the Garrison contract. Felix stepped forward. The Garrison contract? Some big security job for a tech billionaire, Noah explained. Richard was counting on it. When it fell through, he started having these intense phone conversations. Late at night, when he thought we were asleep, Dominic's suspicions crystallized. Noah, did Palmer ever discuss my will or estate with your mother? Not directly, Noah said slowly, but I heard him say once that everything would be taken care of if something happened to you. I thought he meant emotionally, but now you're not so sure, Dominic finished. Noah nodded miserably. What if he brought us back to hurt you? The directness of the question hung in the air. Dominic chose his words carefully. I believe Palmer is desperate. Desperate people make dangerous choices. So what do we do? Noah asked, looking between Dominic and Felix. First, Dominic said, we get your mother away from him. Then we find out exactly what Palmer has planned. Noah's phone buzzed with a text from Elena. Where are you? Richard is out looking for you. Please come home. I'm worried. She sounds scared, Noah said, showing Dominic the message. Tell her you're safe, and we'll see her tomorrow, Dominic instructed. We'll arrange a meeting somewhere public. After Noah sent the text, Dominic added, You'll stay here tonight. Felix will keep watch. What about you? Noah asked. I have a visit to make, Dominic replied, cryptically. Across town, Anthony Winters poured himself another scotch, his third of the evening. The confrontation with Dominic had left him shaken, uncertain where his loyalties should lie. His sister had begged for his help 5 years ago, convinced Dominic had become dangerous. But Richard Palmer had always made Anthony uneasy, with his controlling behavior and convenient explanations. A knock at the door startled him. Anthony checked his security camera, surprised to see Dominic standing on his porch. He considered pretending to be out, but knew Dominic would simply return later. It's late, Anthony said, opening the door just enough to block entry. We need to talk about Palmer, Dominic replied, pushing past him into the house. Anthony sighed, closing the door. I've told you everything I know. Not everything, Dominic countered. You helped launder the insurance money. You've maintained contact with them. What did Palmer tell you about his plans for me? Anthony paled. What plans? Don't insult me, Dominic said sharply. Palmer is broke. He's desperate, and I'm worth more dead than alive to all of you. That's not true, Anthony protested. Elena never wanted your money. But Palmer did, Dominic pressed. What did he tell you, Anthony? That I'd have a convenient accident. That with me gone, Elena would inherit everything as my legal widow. Anthony slumped into a chair. He approached me 6 weeks ago, he admitted, said they were coming back to Portland, that Elena deserved her fair share of what you'd built. And he asked about your will, whether Elena was still the beneficiary. I told him she was. Dominic nodded, unsurprised. Did he mention specifics? How he planned to eliminate me? No. Anthony looked genuinely horrified. I would never be part of something like that. I told Richard it was a terrible idea, that they should just stay away. But he insisted, Dominic surmised. Why? Anthony hesitated. He said someone was pressuring him. Someone dangerous who knew their real identities. Palmer owes money to the wrong people, Dom. This was new information. What people? I don't know, Anthony admitted. But Palmer was terrified. Said if he didn't deliver on his debts, they'd come after Elena and Noah next. Dominic absorbed this, recalculating his approach. Give me your phone. Anthony handed it over without protest. Dominic scrolled through the contacts, finding Palmer's number, and sent a text. We need to meet. Elena doesn't need to know. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. The response came quickly. I'll be there. What are you going to do? Anthony asked nervously. Dominic handed the phone back. I'm going to give Palmer exactly what he wants. The next morning, Stella positioned herself in the coffee shop across from Anthony's financial office, a perfect vantage point to observe Richard Palmer's arrival. She watched as the man checked his surroundings before entering the building, noting his nervous demeanor and the slight bulge under his jacket that suggested a concealed weapon. Target has arrived, she reported to Dominic via her earpiece. He's armed. Expected, Dominic replied from his position inside Anthony's office. Maintain visual on the entrance. No one follows him in. Richard Palmer entered Anthony's office, then froze when he saw Dominic sitting behind the desk instead of Anthony. Where's Winters? Palmer demanded, hand drifting toward his concealed weapon. I wouldn't, Dominic advised calmly. There's a sniper across the street with a clear shot through that window. Felix was force recon. He doesn't miss. Palmer's hand stilled, though his eyes darted to the windows. Sit down, Dominic instructed. We have matters to discuss. Palmer remained standing. I have nothing to say to you. Not even about the people pressuring you. The ones threatening Elena and Noah if you don't pay your debts. That got Palmer's attention. He slowly lowered himself into a chair. Anthony talks too much. Anthony wants to protect his sister, Dominic countered. As do I, despite everything. Palmer scoffed. You expect me to believe that? After she left you? She's still legally my wife, Dominic pointed out. Noah is still my son. Whatever happened between us, I won't let them be harmed because of your poor financial decisions. Palmer studied him warily. What do you want? Information, Dominic said. Who are you in debt to? How much? And what exactly did they ask you to do to me? Palmer seemed to calculate his options before responding. A group called the Artemis Collective. They funded Sanctuary Solutions 3 years ago when we were expanding. I couldn't make the payments. They suggested an alternative arrangement when they learned about my connection to you. Which was? They want access to Defense Protocol's client list, Palmer admitted. Specifically, your government contracts. They believe you have information on certain high-value targets. Dominic raised an eyebrow. And they thought you could get this how? Through Elena, Palmer explained. As your widow, she'd inherit control of the company. With the right guidance, she could provide what they want. After I conveniently disappeared, Dominic added. Palmer didn't deny it. They gave me 3 months. That deadline is in 2 weeks. And if you fail, they'll kill us all, Palmer said simply. They've made that very clear. Dominic leaned back, contemplating this new information. The Artemis Collective was a mercenary group with connections to several foreign intelligence agencies. If they wanted access to Defense Protocol systems, the implications were serious. Here's what's going to happen, Dominic said finally. You're going to tell Elena everything about your debts, about Artemis, about your plans for me. Then you're going to disappear. Alone. She won't believe me, Palmer objected. She will when I show her the recording of this conversation, Dominic replied, gesturing to the tiny camera on the desk lamp. And the bruise on her face will make her particularly receptive to the truth about you. Palmer's expression darkened. You think you can protect them? Artemis doesn't give up. They'll find them, use them to get to you. Let me worry about Artemis, Dominic said coldly. You worry about how far you can run before I decide you're a loose end that needs tying up. Palmer stood, desperation evident in his eyes. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Artemis has resources you can't imagine. So do I, Dominic replied. The difference is I don't hide behind women and children. As Palmer turned to leave, Dominic added, one more thing. If you go near my family again, what Artemis might do will be the least of your concerns. After Palmer left, Stella reported his departure. Target is moving east on foot. Wanted to follow. No, Dominic decided. Let him run for now. We have bigger problems. Felix's voice came through the comm. Noah just called. Palmer returned to the condo, packed a bag, and left after a heated argument with Elena. She's asking to see you. Bring her to the safe house, Dominic instructed. And tell Noah we're moving to Phase 2. Chapter 6, Trust No One. The safe house was a lakeside cabin an hour outside Portland. Dominic had purchased it through a shell company years ago, one of several contingency properties maintained for emergency situations. It was here that Elena now sat at the kitchen table, Noah beside her, as Dominic played the recording of his conversation with Palmer. "I don't believe this," Elena whispered, her face ashen. "Richard wouldn't." "The evidence is clear," Dominic said gently. "Palmer was using you both as leverage." Noah put his arm around his mother's shoulders. "It explains why he suddenly wanted to come back to Portland. Why he got so angry when I spoke to Dad." Elena flinched at Noah's use of Dad in reference to Dominic. "I was so sure you were the dangerous one," she said to Dominic. "After what happened with Thorpe, the weapons, the security systems. I was trying to protect you," Dominic replied. Wexler Construction had connections to organized crime. The threats were real, and I ran straight into the arms of someone worse, Elena concluded bitterly. "Palmer is a symptom, not the disease," Dominic told her. "The real threat is this Artemis Collective. They won't stop just because Palmer failed." Felix entered the kitchen, his expression grim. "We have a problem. Palmer was just found dead in his hotel room. Single gunshot to the head. Portland PD is calling it suicide." "It wasn't," Dominic said immediately. "No," Felix agreed. "Too clean. No residue on his hands. This has Artemis written all over it." Elena gasped. "They killed him? Just like that?" "Palmer became a liability," Dominic explained. "Artemis eliminated him and will now proceed with an alternative approach." "Which means we're still in danger," Noah realized. "Yes," Dominic confirmed. "But we have an advantage they don't know about. They believe we're adversaries, not allies." Elena looked up sharply. "Are we allies, Dom? After what I did to you?" Dominic met her gaze directly. "We're family. Whatever happened between us, Noah is still my son. I will protect him with my life." "And me?" she asked quietly. "You too," Dominic said after a brief hesitation. Despite everything, that night, Dominic found Noah sitting on the dock, staring out at the moonlit lake. He sat down beside his son, maintaining a respectful distance. "Couldn't sleep?" Dominic asked. Noah shook his head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see Richard's face. The way he looked when he hit Mom. Like a stranger." "People wear masks," Dominic said. "Sometimes even from themselves. Is that what happened with you?" Noah asked. "After Thorpe?" Dominic considered the question. "I changed, yes. When someone tries to kill you, it alters your perspective. But I never hid who I was becoming from your mother. I asked her to trust that everything I did was to keep you both safe. And now I'm exactly who I need to be to protect you from Artemis," Dominic replied. Noah nodded, accepting this. After a moment, he asked, "What was I like before we left?" The unexpected question caught Dominic off guard. "You were curious, always taking things apart to see how they worked. You loved dinosaurs and Harry Potter. You hated Brussels sprouts, but would eat them if I promised you ice cream afterward." Noah smiled faintly. "I still hate Brussels sprouts." "Some things don't change," Dominic agreed, returning the smile. They sat in companionable silence until Noah spoke again. "I'm sorry, Dad, for being part of the lie, for not questioning it sooner." "You were a child," Dominic reminded him. "The adults in your life failed you, not the other way around." Before Noah could respond, Felix appeared at the end of the dock. "We got movement. Security perimeter breach on the north side." Dominic was instantly alert. "Get Noah inside. Standard protocol." "What about Mom?" Noah asked worriedly. "Stella's with her," Dominic assured him. As Felix ushered Noah toward the cabin, Dominic surveyed the surrounding woods. The security system should have given them more warning unless. "Felix," he called quietly. "Check Stella's last check-in time." Felix consulted his phone. 40 minutes ago. She should have reported in twice since then. Dominic drew his sidearm. "Change of plans. Get to the car. We're leaving now." Inside the cabin, they found Stella unconscious on the living room floor, a dart protruding from her neck. Elena was nowhere to be seen. "Tranquilizer," Felix confirmed, checking Stella's pulse. "She's alive." "Where's Mom?" Noah demanded, panic rising in his voice. Dominic discovered a note on the coffee table. "We have the woman. Exchange her for defense protocol access codes. Instructions to follow." involve authorities, and she dies. Artemis has her, Dominic told Noah grimly. But this doesn't make sense. How did they find us so quickly? Noah's face went pale. Oh no, Mom's phone. She was texting someone while you and Felix were setting up the security system. Who? Dominic demanded. I thought it was her friend Christina, Noah said. But what if it was Richard? What if he told them where we were before they killed him? Dominic nodded, the pieces falling into place. Palmer gave them our location as insurance. If he failed, they'd still have a way to get what they want. We have to save her. Noah insisted. We will, Dominic promised. But not by giving Artemis what they want. That would only ensure none of us survive. Felix carried Stella to the couch. What's the play, Dom? We need to take the fight to them, Dominic decided. Make them regret targeting my family. How? Noah asked. Dominic pulled out his phone. By calling in every favor I'm owed. Artemis wants Defense Protocol's resources. Let's show them exactly what those resources can do. Within an hour, Dominic had assembled a virtual war council. 6 faces appeared on the secure video conference. Former military operators who now worked for Defense Protocol on high-risk contracts around the world. Artemis has my wife. Dominic informed them without preamble. I need their Portland operation neutralized within 24 hours. Marcus Reynolds, a former Delta operator who ran Defense Protocol's West Coast division, spoke first. We've been tracking Artemis for months. They have a compound outside Gresham. Looks like a tech startup campus, but it's a front. Defenses? Felix asked. Standard private security protocol. 20 guards, rotating shifts. Security system by Halcyon. Nothing we can't handle. This is a domestic operation, Dominic reminded them. We need to stay under the radar. Not a problem, Marcus assured him. We have 3 teams within striking distance. We can position them as corporate security consultants conducting a scheduled audit. Dominic nodded. Good. I want eyes on that compound within 3 hours. Full tactical assessment. If they're holding Elena there, I want to know exactly where. As the operators acknowledged their orders, Noah watched with growing amazement. They all work for you? He whispered to Dominic. They work with me, Dominic corrected. Most of them I've served with or saved at some point. Loyalty goes both ways in our business. After the call ended, Felix approached with another concern. What if Artemis isn't holding her at the compound? They could be using her as bait. Almost certainly, Dominic agreed. Which is why we're not going to do what they expect. What's the plan? Noah asked. Dominic placed a hand on his son's shoulder. First, we get you somewhere safe. Then Felix and I are going hunting. No, Noah said firmly. I'm not hiding while Mom is in danger. I want to help. Dominic studied his son's determined expression, seeing his own stubborn resolve reflected back at him. It will be dangerous, he warned. She's my mother, Noah replied simply. And you're my father. I belong with you. Dominic exchanged a look with Felix, who gave a slight nod of approval. All right, Dominic decided. But you follow orders without question. Understood. Yes, sir, Noah agreed, standing straighter. As Felix prepared their equipment, Dominic received a text from an unknown number. Proof of life attached. Instructions to follow. The accompanying photo showed Elena, bruised but alive, holding today's newspaper. They made contact, Dominic told Felix and Noah, showing them the image. Now we wait for their demands. And then, Noah asked. Dominic's expression hardened into something Noah had never seen before. The look of a predator preparing to strike. And then we remind Artemis why taking my family was the last mistake they'll ever make. Chapter 7. The Crucible. The Artemis Collective's Portland compound sat on 20 acres of forested land outside Gresham, surrounded by an 8-foot security fence topped with razor wire. From their observation point half a mile away, Dominic studied the facility through high-power binoculars. Security patrols every 15 minutes, he noted. 2-man teams, rotating clockwise. Felix checked his watch. Marcus and his team should be in position on the east perimeter. Noah, dressed in tactical black like Dominic and Felix, watched the compound with intense focus. In the 6 hours since Elena's abduction, Dominic had given him a crash course in tactical movement and basic weapons handling. The boy had absorbed everything with surprising aptitude. Are we sure Mom's in there? Noah asked quietly. Heat signatures indicate 17 people inside the main building, Dominic replied. One person isolated in the subterranean level. That's likely your mother. Felix's earpiece crackled. Marcus reports all teams in position. Ready on your mark. Dominic nodded, then turned to Noah. Remember the plan? You stay with Felix at all times. If I give the evacuation order, you go immediately, no arguments. I remember, Noah assured him. But I'm not leaving without Mom. We all leave together, Dominic promised, though his eyes told a different story, one of calculated risks and necessary sacrifices. Their planning was interrupted by Dominic's phone vibrating. The screen displayed a message from Artemis. Defense protocol access codes to be delivered via secure upload. You have 1 hour. Verification call with Mrs. Russo to follow. Non-compliance will result in termination. They're getting impatient, Felix observed. Good, Dominic replied. Desperation leads to mistakes. He typed a response. Need proof of life via video call before proceeding. The reply came quickly. Video call in 10 minutes. Prepare access codes. Dominic checked his specialized tablet. Marcus, initiate Operation Blacklight. We need a signal trace on the upcoming video call. Copy that. Marcus acknowledged. Triangulation protocols standing by. When the video call connected, Elena appeared on screen, seated in a sterile white room. Her left eye was swollen. A cut on her lip had crusted with dried blood, but her gaze remained defiant. You have 60 seconds, said a modulated voice from off-camera. Are you hurt? Dominic asked Elena. Nothing serious, she replied, her voice steady. Dom, don't give them what they want. They're going to. A hand appeared, slapping her hard enough to snap her head to the side. Noah lunged forward involuntarily, but Felix held him back. That's enough, Dominic said coldly. You've made your point. The access codes, the voice demanded. Upload them now. I need assurances, Dominic countered. Release protocols, exchange location. You're not in a position to negotiate, Mr. Russo. Dominic's expression remained impassive. Neither are you. Defense protocol systems have biometric safeguards. Without my physical presence at a secure terminal, the codes are useless. A pause, then what are you suggesting? A direct exchange. Me for her. I'll provide on-site access once she's safely away. Another pause, longer this time. The Palmer boy comes too. Insurance. Noah straightened, eyes widening. Unacceptable, Dominic replied immediately. The boy stays out of this. Then we have nothing further to discuss. The hand reappeared, this time holding a knife to Elena's throat. Wait, Dominic said. The boy comes with me, but remains outside with my associate until the exchange is complete. After a tense moment, the voice agreed. The south entrance. 1 hour. Come unarmed, or she dies. The call disconnected. Got it, Marcus reported triumphantly. Signal traced to the northeast quadrant of the compound. Sub-basement level. That's not where the heat signature showed the isolated person, Felix pointed out. They're moving her, or showing us what they want us to see, Dominic countered. Either way, we proceed as planned. Marcus, status on Blacklight. All defense protocol systems have been isolated and secured. Marcus confirmed. Ghost protocols active. Whatever they think they're accessing will be a monitored simulation. Noah looked between them. You're really going to give yourself up? I'm going to give them what they expect, Dominic corrected. A desperate father willing to sacrifice himself for his family. While we execute the real plan, Felix added with a grim smile. An hour later, a black SUV approached the south entrance of the Artemis compound. Dominic drove, with Noah in the passenger seat and Felix hidden in the cargo area beneath a false panel. As they reached the gate, 2 armed guards approached. Hands where we can see them, one guard ordered. Exit the vehicle slowly. Dominic and Noah complied, raising their hands as they stepped out. You'll be searched before entering, the guard informed them, professionally patting them down. The boy waits here with Hansen. You come with me. Dominic nodded to Noah, a silent reminder of their plan. I'll be back with your mother. Do exactly as they say. Noah maintained his frightened expression, playing his role perfectly. Please don't hurt my dad, he pleaded to the guards. The guard named Hansen chuckled. That depends on your father's cooperation, kid. Inside the compound, Dominic was escorted through a series of security checkpoints, memorizing the layout and personnel positions as they progressed deeper into the facility. They eventually reached a secure elevator that descended to the sub-basement. Mr. Russo greeted a tall, elegantly dressed woman as the elevator doors opened. "I'm Diana Warren, Operational Director for Artemis Portland. Thank you for being reasonable. Where's my wife?" Dominic demanded. "All in good time," Warren replied. "First, the access codes and biometric verification." She led him to a room containing a computer terminal. "Our technical team has prepared this station to connect securely with defense protocol servers. Once you've provided full access, Mrs. Russo will be released." Dominic approached the terminal cautiously. "I want to see her first." Warren considered this, then nodded to an assistant who activated a wall monitor. The screen showed Elena in a different room than before, still restrained but apparently unharmed. "Satisfied?" Warren asked. "For now," Dominic replied, sitting at the terminal. He began typing, entering a complex series of commands that appeared to be unlocking defense protocol systems, but were actually initiating the Blacklight Protocol, a sophisticated Trojan designed to infiltrate Artemis's network while appearing to grant them access. "Our technical team will verify these codes," Warren informed him, signaling to someone off-screen. "Of course," Dominic agreed, continuing his work. As he typed, a tiny indicator in the corner of the screen blinked 3 times. Felix's signal that the external teams were in position. Meanwhile, outside the compound, Noah waited beside Hansen, feigning nervousness as he counted down the minutes in his head. At precisely the arranged time, he stumbled slightly, bumping against the guard. "Watch it, kid," Hansen said irritably. "Sorry," Noah mumbled. "I don't feel so good." As Noah sagged against the SUV, Hansen stepped closer. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" The moment Hansen leaned in, the SUV's rear compartment burst open. Felix emerged in one fluid motion, incapacitating Hansen with a precision strike to the base of his skull. The second guard reached for his weapon, but collapsed as a tranquilizer dart struck his neck. 30 seconds before the camera loop is detected, Felix warned, retrieving their tactical gear from the vehicle. "Mask up." Noah pulled on a ballistic vest and tactical mask as Felix did the same. "Remember," Felix instructed, "stay behind me. Move when I move, stop when I stop." "Got it," Noah confirmed, adrenaline focusing his mind. Felix activated his comm, breaching team, execute. Across the compound, 3 synchronized explosions created diversionary breaches, drawing security personnel away from their primary target, the northeast quadrant where Elena was being held. In the sub-basement, Dominic heard the distant booms and saw Warren stiffen. "What was that?" she demanded. Dominic continued typing calmly. "Probably my team executing Operation Hellfire." Warren's expression hardened. "What have you done?" "Created a diversion," Dominic replied, suddenly striking with lightning speed. He grabbed Warren's wrist, twisting until something snapped, then pulled her against him as a human shield just as armed guards burst into the room. "Hold your fire." Warren gasped, her broken wrist pinned painfully behind her back. Dominic reached under the terminal, retrieving the weapon he'd palmed from Hansen during the initial pat-down, slipped to him by Noah during their stage goodbye. "Now," Dominic said conversationally as alarms blared throughout the facility, "let's discuss the real terms of our arrangement." Felix and Noah moved through the compound with practiced efficiency, benefiting from the chaos created by the diversionary breaches. Following Marcus's intelligence, they made their way to the northeast quadrant, encountering minimal resistance as most security personnel responded to the more obvious threats. 2 guards outside target room, Felix reported quietly as they took cover at the end of a corridor. "Noah, remember the flashbang procedure?" Noah nodded, showing no fear despite the gravity of the situation. "Cover ears, close eyes, count to 3. Felix handed him the device. "On my mark." As Felix engaged the guards, drawing their attention forward, Noah rolled the flashbang grenade down the hallway with perfect timing. The disorienting explosion gave Felix the advantage he needed to neutralize both guards without lethal force. "Clear," Felix announced, approaching the secured door. He connected a specialized device to the electronic lock, bypassing the security in seconds. When the door swung open, they found Elena bound to a chair, her eyes wide with shock at the sight of masked figures. "Mom, it's me," Noah said, pulling down his mask as Felix secured the room. "Noah," Elena gasped in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you," he replied simply, working to free her restraints. "Dad has a plan." Elena looked between her son and Felix, clearly struggling to process the situation. "Where is Dom?" Creating a distraction, Felix explained, helping her stand once the restraints were removed. "Can you walk?" "Yes," she affirmed, though she winced when she put weight on her right ankle. "They didn't want to damage me too badly. Not until they got what they wanted." "Exit Route Delta," Felix instructed through his comm, package secured, proceeding to extraction point. As they made their way through the compound, Noah supported his mother while Felix cleared their path. They encountered two security teams but managed to avoid direct confrontation thanks to the continued chaos from multiple breaches. Almost there, Felix encouraged as they approached a service exit. "Transport is waiting 200 yards east." "What about Dom?" Elena asked, her concern evident. "Dad can take care of himself," Noah assured her. In the sub-basement, Dominic had turned the tables completely. With Warren as his hostage and the Blacklight protocol successfully deployed, he had access to Artemis's entire security system. "Your team is currently trapped in containment sectors 3 through 7, Dominic informed Warren as he reviewed the facility schematics on the terminal. "Meanwhile, Defense Protocol has assumed control of your external communications and security protocols." "This is insanity," Warren hissed. "Artemis has resources worldwide. You can't possibly." "Already have," Dominic cut her off. "While you were focused on me, my teams identified and secured all Artemis data centers across the country. Your operations are now an open book, including your client list, operational procedures, and financial holdings." Warren's face drained of color. "What do you want?" "First, confirmation that my family has been extracted safely," Dominic replied, checking a secure message on his phone. When he saw Felix's confirmation, he continued, "Now for the terms. Artemis will immediately cease all operations targeting Defense Protocol or anyone associated with me. You will transfer all intelligence gathered on my company to a secure server I designate. And you personally will provide a complete list of everyone involved in my family's abduction." "Or what?" Warren challenged, despite her precarious position. Dominic smiled coldly. "Or the kill teams I've positioned at the homes of every Artemis board member will receive their execute orders. You're not the only organization with global reach, Ms. Warren." The blood drained from Warren's face. "You're bluffing." "Let's find out," Dominic replied, reaching for his phone. "Wait," Warren said quickly. "I'll comply." Dominic nodded, unsurprised. "I thought you might. Now let's discuss Richard Palmer and his arrangement with Artemis." Outside the compound, Elena, Noah, and Felix reached the extraction vehicle where Marcus waited. "Any resistance?" Marcus asked as they climbed in. "Minimal," Felix reported. They were too busy with the diversion teams. As Marcus drove away from the compound, Elena turned to Noah. "You were incredible back there, but also incredibly reckless. Your father should never have involved you in something so dangerous." "It was my choice," Noah said firmly. "I wasn't going to sit somewhere safe while you were in danger." "Like father, like son," Felix commented with approval. Elena studied her son with new eyes, seeing Dominic's determination reflected in him. "When did you grow up so much?" "When I learned the truth," Noah replied simply. "About everything." The extraction vehicle arrived at a private airfield where a corporate jet waited. As they boarded, Elena looked back anxiously. "We can't leave without Dom. He's taking a different route," Felix assured her. "We'll rendezvous at the safe house in Montana." As the jet taxied for takeoff, Noah watched the night sky, a newfound respect for his father burning in his chest. Whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Chapter 8. Sins of the Father. 3 days later, the Montana safe house offered a stark contrast to the chaos of Portland. Nestled against the backdrop of the Bitterroot Mountains, the sprawling ranch house sat on 200 acres of private land, protected by state-of-the-art security systems disguised as standard ranch equipment. Elena stood at the kitchen window, watching Noah split firewood with Felix. The boy had barely left Felix's side since their escape, absorbing every lesson the former soldier offered in survival and self-defense. "He's a natural," Dominic observed, joining her at the window. "Quick learner. Good instincts." Like his father, Elena said quietly. "I still can't believe you involved him in that rescue operation." "I didn't involve him," Dominic corrected. "I tried to send him away. He refused." Elena turned to face him. "And you couldn't say no to him? Would you have preferred I locked him in a room while we rescued you?" Dominic asked. He needed to be part of it, to take control of a situation where he'd previously been powerless. I understood that need. Elena considered this, then sighed. "When did you get so insightful about parenting?" "When I lost my son," Dominic replied simply. "I spent 5 years imagining all the things I would have taught him, all the conversations we'd never have." The raw honesty in his voice made Elena look away, guilt evident in her expression. "I've done so much damage, Dom. To you. To Noah. All because I was afraid." "Fear is a powerful motivator," Dominic acknowledged. "But so is truth." "It's time for the whole truth, Elena. Everything you haven't told me about Palmer and Artemis." Elena nodded, sitting at the kitchen table. "Richard approached me after the incident with Thorpe. Said he knew people who could help us disappear if things got worse. I thought he was just being kind, offering resources through his work with witness protection." "When did it become more?" Dominic asked. "About a month before we left," Elena admitted. "You were working constantly, dealing with the Wexler fallout." Richard was attentive, understanding. "It was wrong, but I was scared and confused." "And the decision to fake your deaths?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. "That night, when you came home covered in blood, Noah had a nightmare about it. He was terrified. Richard convinced me you were becoming dangerous. That was only a matter of time before someone came after us to get to you. He had a plan already prepared." "Convenient," Dominic noted coldly. "I know that now," Elena agreed. "But at the time, it felt like our only option. Richard promised a new life, safety, security. When did you realize he wasn't what he seemed?" "Little things at first. His controlling behavior, the isolation from friends. Then larger things. Unexplained absences, mysterious phone calls. By then, we were completely dependent on him. I had no money, no identity, nowhere to go. And Noah. Richard was careful with him," Elena explained. "Always the perfect father figure when Noah was watching. It was only in the last year that Noah started to notice the inconsistencies." Dominic absorbed this, his expression unreadable. "And Artemis? When did they enter the picture?" "I'm not sure exactly," Elena confessed. "Richard mentioned new investors in his security company about 3 years ago. His behavior changed after that. More secretive, more anxious. Then 2 months ago, everything fell apart. The business was failing. Richard was drinking heavily. That's when he suddenly decided we needed to reconnect with you." "For my money," Dominic concluded. "That's what I thought at first," Elena agreed. "But now I wonder if Artemis was pressuring him all along, using us to get to you." Dominic nodded, pieces falling into place. Warren confirmed as much. Palmer approached Artemis, not the other way around. He offered them access to defense protocol through you. When his plan to romance the information out of you failed, he suggested a more direct approach. Elena looked stricken. "You mean he planned to kill you all along?" "Initially, he planned to have you reconcile with me, gain access to company information, then disappear again," Dominic explained. "When that proved impossible, Artemis pushed for a more permanent solution. And I led Noah straight into this nightmare," Elena whispered, horror dawning. "Dom, I'm so sorry." "Save your apologies," Dominic said, his voice hardening. "There's something else you need to know. Something Warren told me about Palmer." "What?" "He's alive," Dominic revealed. "The suicide was staged. Palmer made a separate deal with a faction within Artemis. He's in the wind, but with a significant price on his head from both sides now. Elena's face went pale. He'll come after us. He knows I can identify him, testify about his plans. Let him try, Dominic said dismissively. This property is more secure than most military installations. Besides, Palmer is a coward who hides behind others. He won't risk a direct confrontation. Outside, Noah had finished splitting wood and was now practicing hand-to-hand techniques with Felix. The boy moved with growing confidence, his movements becoming more fluid with each repetition. He looks like you, Elena observed. The way he stands, the focus in his eyes. He's resilient, Dominic agreed. Adaptable. He'll need those qualities for what comes next. What has come next, Dom? Elena asked hesitantly. For all of us. Dominic considered the question. That depends on what you want, Elena. I can set you up with new identities, somewhere Palmer will never find you. Or you can stay under defense protocols protection until the threat is neutralized. And us, you and me. Dominic met her gaze directly. There is no you and me anymore. That died 5 years ago. Noah is my son, and I will protect him with my life. But you and I are finished. The finality in his voice left no room for argument or hope. Elena nodded sadly, accepting the consequence of her choices. I understand, she said quietly. For what it's worth, I truly am sorry, Dom. Not just for leaving, but for believing the worst about you. Believe the worst about Palmer instead, Dominic advised coldly. He's still out there, and he blames you for his failure. Later that evening, Dominic found Noah on the back porch, staring at the star-filled Montana sky. He sat next to his son, handing him a mug of hot chocolate. Mom says we need to decide what happens next, Noah said, accepting the drink. That you offered new identities. It's an option, Dominic confirmed. A safe one, especially for your mother. Noah turned to face him. And me? Would I go with her? That would be your choice, Dominic said carefully. You're 15 now, old enough to have a say in your future. What if I want to stay with you? Noah asked directly. Dominic felt an unexpected surge of emotion. You be welcome, but you should know what that means. My life isn't simple. Defense protocol operates in dangerous environments, and Palmer is still a threat. I'm not afraid of Palmer, Noah stated with conviction. Not anymore. Fear is useful, Dominic counseled. It keeps you alert, focused. The mistake is letting it control your decisions. Noah nodded, absorbing the lesson. Like Mom did. Your mother did what she thought was necessary to protect you, Dominic said, surprising himself with the defense. Her methods were wrong, but her instinct was understandable. You're defending her? Noah asked incredulously. After everything she did, understanding someone's motives isn't the same as excusing their actions, Dominic explained. I understand why she ran. That doesn't mean I forgive the deception or the years lost. Noah considered this distinction. Will you ever forgive her? Dominic looked out at the vast Montana sky, stars sharp and clear in the mountain air. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, Noah. They change who you are at your core. Your mother's choices altered the course of all our lives in ways that can't be undone. What about me? Noah asked quietly. Can you forgive me for being part of the lie? Dominic turned to his son, seeing both the child he'd lost and the young man emerging from the crucible of recent events. You weren't given a choice. You were a child following your mother's lead, believing what the adults in your life told you. There's nothing to forgive there. Noah seemed relieved, but still troubled. I don't want new identities or to run away again. I want my real name back. I want to be Noah Russo. That might not be safe yet, Dominic cautioned. Palmer is one man, Noah interrupted. You're Dominic Russo. You have defense protocol. Why are we the ones who have to hide? Dominic couldn't help but smile at the boy's logic. You make a good point, but returning to normal life would take time, legal maneuvering. Your mother and I are still legally married. You're still legally my heir. But you've been attending school as Travis Palmer for 5 years. So we fix it, Noah said simply. You have lawyers, right? We tell the truth about the fraud, the fake identities, all of it. That would likely mean criminal charges for your mother, Dominic pointed out. Insurance fraud at minimum. Are you prepared for that possibility? Noah's expression hardened. She made her choices, just like Richard did. The coldness in his son's voice gave Dominic pause. Don't let anger become who you are, Noah. It's a useful tool, but a terrible master. Isn't that what drives you? Noah challenged. Anger at their betrayal? Not anger, Dominic corrected. Clarity. I see people as they are, not as I wish them to be. Your mother betrayed my trust. That doesn't mean she doesn't love you or that she deserves to suffer endlessly for her mistakes. Noah absorbed this distinction. So what do? We neutralize Palmer first, Dominic decided. Until he's no longer a threat, none of us is truly safe. Meanwhile, I'll have my legal team explore options for transitioning you back to your legal identity. And Mom, that's a conversation for another day, Dominic said, rising. Get some sleep. Felix wants to start your firearms training tomorrow. Noah nodded, then impulsively hugged his father, the first such contact between them since their reunion. Dominic stiffened momentarily, then returned the embrace, a dam of emotion threatening to break within him. Night, Dad, Noah said, pulling away with typical teenage casualness that belied the significance of the moment. Good night, son, Dominic replied, watching as Noah headed inside. Alone on the porch, Dominic allowed himself a rare moment of vulnerability, the weight of lost years pressing down on him. He had found his son, but the boy was now a stranger in many ways. The years of watching him grow, guiding his development, helping him navigate childhood challenges, those were gone forever, stolen by deception and fear. The porch door opened behind him. He's remarkable, Stella said, joining him. Adaptable. Resilient. Good genes, I suppose. What did you find? Dominic asked, shifting immediately back to business. Palmer accessed an offshore account yesterday, Stella reported. Cayman Islands. He withdrew $50,000 and booked a flight to Croatia under one of his aliases. Running, Dominic concluded. Smart move. There's more, Stella continued. Before he disappeared, Palmer made contact with a former Artemis operative named Victor Kane. Extremely dangerous. Specialist in targeted eliminations. Dominic's expression darkened. A contract. Most likely, Stella agreed. The question is, who's the target? You? Elena? The boy? All of us, Dominic surmised. Palmer is desperate and cornered. His only play is to eliminate everyone who can testify against him. What's our move? Stella asked. Dominic's response was immediate and cold. We find Palmer first, and we end this. Inside the house, unknown to either of them, Noah stood in the shadows of the hallway, having returned to ask his father a question. He heard every word of their conversation, his young face hardening with resolve as he slipped back to his room, a plan already forming in his mind. Chapter 9, Blood and Ashes. The trap was set at an abandoned textile factory on the outskirts of Bozeman. Dominic had chosen the location carefully, isolated enough for privacy, structured enough for strategic advantage, and close enough to the ranch to maintain secure communications. Are we sure he'll come? Felix asked, checking the thermal imaging cameras they'd positioned throughout the facility. Palmer's not stupid. He has to know it's a setup. He'll come, Dominic replied confidently. Not because he's stupid, but because he's desperate. The information we've accidentally leaked suggests Elena is here, isolated and vulnerable. His new employers want her silenced before she can testify about Artemis operations. And they want you dead on principle, Stella added, calibrating her sniper rifle in the factory's upper gallery. 2 birds, 1 stone. Dominic nodded. Exactly. Palmer delivers us. He gets paid and receives protection from Artemis retaliation. Felix frowned at one of the monitor displays. Speaking of Elena, she's been trying to reach you. Says it's urgent. It can wait, Dominic dismissed. She's secure at the ranch with Noah and Marcus. Whatever it is, it's not more important than eliminating Palmer. The 3 of them had spent the past week meticulously planning this operation. Intelligence gathered from Warren had confirmed Palmer's connection to Victor Kane, a notorious contract killer formerly employed by Artemis. Within 48 hours of making contact with Kane, Palmer had withdrawn all his accessible funds and disappeared. But Dominic had anticipated this move. Using Felix's connections in the financial world, they had allowed Palmer access to one specific offshore account while freezing all others. They had then leaked information through channels Palmer monitored, suggesting Elena was being relocated to a Defense Protocol safe house in Bozeman, alone, while Dominic and Noah remained at the ranch. Movement at the east perimeter, Stella reported suddenly, peering through her scope. 2 vehicles approaching slowly, lights off. Dominic checked the thermal imaging. 4 heat signatures in the lead vehicle. 2 in the second. Palmer and Kane plus hired muscle, Felix surmised. Just as expected. Positions, Dominic ordered, checking his weapon. Remember, Palmer is mine. As Felix moved to cover the ground floor and Stella maintained her overwatch position, Dominic activated the remote EMP device that would disable all electronic communications within a half-mile radius. If Palmer and his team followed standard procedure, they would split up to secure the perimeter before moving in, giving Dominic the opportunity to isolate and neutralize them one by one. The first 2 mercenaries entered through the loading dock, moving with the practice coordination of former military. Stella's rifle coughed twice, the suppressor muffling the shots to little more than quiet thumps. Both men dropped without a sound. 2 down, she reported coldly. The next man entered through a side entrance, more cautious than his predecessors. Felix waited until he passed before emerging from the shadows, dispatching him with brutal efficiency. 3, Felix confirmed. Victor Kane proved more challenging. The contract killer recognized the trap almost immediately, changing tactics to use the factory's infrastructure as cover. He fired a burst of rounds towards Stella's position, forcing her to relocate as he moved deeper into the building. Kane's heading for the central processing floor, Stella warned. He's good, Dom. Former Spetsnaz by his movement pattern. Felix, converge on the processing floor, Dominic instructed. Herd him toward the eastern corridor. As they maneuvered to corner Kane, Dominic watched for Palmer. According to the thermal imaging, the 6th heat signature remained in the second vehicle, engines still running. Palmer staying safely back until the professionals confirmed the target. Coward, Dominic muttered, adjusting his plan. The confrontation with Kane was violent and brief. Caught between Felix and Stella, the skilled operative nonetheless managed to wound Felix with a well-placed shot before Dominic intervened, ending the threat permanently. You okay? Dominic asked Felix, checking the bullet wound in his shoulder. Through and through, Felix confirmed, grimacing. I'll live. Palmer's still out there. Not for long, Dominic replied, removing Kane's radio. He pressed the transmit button. All clear, he said, mimicking Kane's Eastern European accent. Target acquired. Require assistance with transport. After a tense moment, Palmer's voice crackled through the radio. Confirmed. On my way. Dominic positioned himself in the shadows near the main entrance, weapon ready. When Palmer entered, moving cautiously despite the all-clear, Dominic allowed him to advance deep into the trap before speaking. Hello, Richard. Palmer froze, then spun around, raising his weapon toward the sound of Dominic's voice. Before he could fire, Dominic stepped forward, his own gun already aimed center mass. I wouldn't, Dominic advised coldly. Drop it or die where you stand. Palmer hesitated, calculation evident in his eyes. You won't shoot me, Russo. You need me alive to testify against Artemis. Warren already gave us everything we need, Dominic countered. You're just a loose end now. Despite the gravity of his situation, Palmer maintained his composure. If you kill me, you're no better than the monster Elena always said you were. I never claimed to be better, Dominic replied evenly. But I am smarter. Your team is dead. Your escape vehicle has been disabled, and your new Artemis friends have already disavowed you. Palmer's confidence wavered slightly. You're bluffing. Check your phone, Dominic suggested. The EMP is localized. You should have reception by now. Palmer glanced at his phone, color draining from his face as he read something on the screen. This is a mistake, he said, his voice less certain. We can make a deal. I have information. The only deal available is this, Dominic interrupted. Surrender now. Testify against your Artemis contacts, and I'll let the legal system determine your fate instead of ending you right here. Palmer seemed to consider this offer, then suddenly lunged to the side, firing wildly as he dove for cover. Dominic returned fire with precision, catching Palmer in the leg, dropping him to the floor. Bad choice, Dominic said, approaching the wounded man. But predictable. Palmer clutched his bleeding leg, hatred burning in his eyes. You think this ends with me? Artemis has resources you can't imagine. They'll come for all of you. Elena, the boy, everyone you care about. Artemis is finished, Dominic informed him. While you were running, I was systematically dismantling their entire operation. Their accounts are frozen, their data centers compromised, their board members under federal investigation. You backed the wrong side, Richard. As the reality of a situation dawned on Palmer, desperation replaced calculation. Wait, he pleaded. I can still be useful. I know things about Artemis that Warren wouldn't know. Operations, assets, sleeper agents. I'm listening, Dominic said, maintaining his aim. Palmer began detailing Artemis operations, names, dates, locations, valuable intelligence that Dominic recorded on his phone. As Palmer spoke, Dominic noticed Felix and Stella approaching from behind, securing the area. That's everything I know, Palmer concluded, sweat beading on his forehead from pain and fear. Now what? Now you face justice, Dominic replied. For fraud, kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder. The list is extensive. Palmer laughed bitterly. Justice? There's no justice in this world. Rousseau. Only power and those willing to use it. You know that better than anyone. You're right about one thing, Dominic acknowledged. Power matters, and you've lost yours. Before Palmer could respond, a new voice spoke from the darkness. Is that him? Is that Richard? Dominic turned, shocked to see Noah emerging from the shadows, a determined expression on his young face. Noah, Dominic exclaimed. What are you doing here? You should be at the ranch with your mother. Mom's the one who told me where to find you, Noah replied, eyes fixed on Palmer. When she couldn't reach you, she showed me the tracking app on her phone, the one you installed for her protection. Palmer's expression shifted to one of alarm as Noah approached. Stay back, he warned. Your father and I are having a discussion. No more discussions, Noah said coldly. No more lies. With shocking speed, Noah raised a pistol, one he must have taken from the ranch's security office. Before Dominic could intervene, Noah fired twice. The first bullet struck Palmer in the chest, the second in the throat. No, Dominic lunged forward, grabbing the weapon from his son's hands. What have you done? Palmer gasped for breath, blood bubbling from his mouth and neck wound. His eyes locked with Noah's in a final moment of recognition before the light faded from them. Noah stared at Palmer's body, his expression unnervingly calm. He would have kept coming after us. You know that. He would have found some way to hurt us again. Dominic gripped his son's shoulders. This isn't who you are, Noah. This isn't what I wanted for you. You're wrong, Dad, Noah replied quietly. This is exactly who I am. Your son. I protect my family, whatever it takes. Just like you taught me. Felix and Stella exchanged concerned glances as Dominic absorbed the weight of Noah's words. We need to clean this up, Felix said finally, breaking the tense silence. All of it. Dominic nodded mechanically, still processing what had happened. Stella, secure the perimeter. Make sure there are no witnesses. Felix, prepare for disposal. Standard protocol. As they moved to execute his orders, Dominic faced his son. We need to talk about this, Noah. About what you've done. There's nothing to talk about, Noah insisted. Palmer threatened our family. Now he's gone. Problem solved. The coldness in Noah's voice, so similar to Dominic's own, sent a chill through him. This was the price of his revenge, reflected in his son's eyes. The corruption of innocence, the normalization of violence, the belief that some betrayals could only be answered with blood. This isn't justice, Noah, Dominic said softly. This is vengeance. Is there a difference? Noah asked, genuinely curious. You were going to kill him too. I just did it first. Dominic had no answer that wouldn't expose his own hypocrisy. Instead, he pulled Noah into a tight embrace, feeling the boy's body trembling despite his outward calm. Let's go home, Dominic said finally. Your mother will be worried. The drive back to the ranch passed in heavy silence. When they arrived, Elena was waiting on the porch, her face lined with worry and fear. Noah, she called, rushing down the steps. Where have you been? I've been frantic. Noah met his mother's embrace stiffly. "It's done, Mom. Palmer won't hurt us anymore." Elena looked from Noah to Dominic, understanding dawning in her eyes. "What happened? What did you do? What needed to be done?" Noah replied, pulling away from her. "I'm going to bed. I'm tired." As Noah disappeared into the house, Elena turned to Dominic, tears streaming down her face. "What have we done to him, Dom? What has he become?" Dominic watched the door close behind his son, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. "He's become what circumstances demanded, what we created through our choices." "This isn't what I wanted," Elena whispered, echoing Dominic's earlier words to Noah. "Not for him. We rarely get what we want," Dominic replied coldly. "Only what we deserve." 2 months later, Dominic stood in his Portland office, reviewing the final reports on the Artemis Collective. The organization had been systematically dismantled, its operations exposed, its leaders facing federal charges. The threat they had posed was neutralized completely. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Felix entered, looking more relaxed than he had in weeks. Noah's school application was accepted. He starts next month at Westlake Academy. Dominic nodded approvingly. "Good. The legal transition is nearly complete as well. By summer, he'll officially be Noah Russo again, with a carefully constructed explanation for the 5-year absence." "And Elena?" Felix asked cautiously. "Montana has agreed to her terms," Dominic replied. "Immunity in exchange for testimony against the remaining Artemis operatives. She'll be relocated afterward, new identity, fresh start." "Without Noah," Felix noted. "His choice," Dominic confirmed. "He's adamant about staying with me, learning the business." Felix hesitated before asking, "Are you sure that's wise? After what happened with Palmer?" Dominic met his friend's concerned gaze directly. "Noah made a choice. One I would have made myself, given the opportunity. I can't condemn him for being my son. But you can guide him," Felix suggested. "Help him understand the weight of such choices." "I'm trying," Dominic acknowledged. "The therapist says it will take time. That trauma manifests in unexpected ways." A small smile touched Felix's lips. "You're seeing Dr. Mercer again?" "Noah is," Dominic clarified. "Twice weekly. I join occasionally." Felix nodded approvingly. "That's something at least." After Felix left, Dominic turned to the window, gazing out at the Portland skyline. So much had changed in the past months. His son had returned from the dead, only to take a life himself. His wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, would disappear again, this time with his blessing. And he himself had changed in ways he was only beginning to understand. The intercom buzzed. "Your son is here to see you, Mr. Russo," Lydia announced. "Send him in," Dominic replied, turning from the window. Noah entered, looking more like a typical teenager than he had in months. The haunted look in his eyes had faded somewhat, replaced by cautious optimism about the future. "Ready for dinner?" Noah asked. "You promised Italian tonight." Dominic smiled, a genuine expression that few besides Noah ever witnessed. "I did. Salvatore's at 7. As they left the office together, Dominic placed a hand on his son's shoulder. The gesture contained everything he couldn't put into words: pride, concern, love, and the solemn promise to do better, to be the father Noah needed, not just the avenger he had modeled. Some betrayals could never be forgiven. Some losses could never be recovered. But in the ashes of deception and revenge, something new had emerged. A bond forged in fire, tempered by truth, and stronger for having been broken. It wasn't redemption. Dominic wasn't interested in redemption, but it was perhaps something like peace. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.